This is TWiT.
As we all know, Apple doesn't like to be rushed in things. It releases its products when it feels it's right. Release date confirmations be damned. Their home assistant speaker, the HomePod, was originally confirmed to release last December, but ultimately got delayed beyond the holidays. And now Apple is ready to get these out to people. And by these, I do not mean this, the actual ones. Joining us to talk about the product and the competitive market is Shara Tipken from CNET. How's it going, Shara?
Great. How are you guys?
Awesome. It's great to get you on the show today. Thank you for joining us. So first, I guess we should start with the basics. Tell us when and how people are going to be able to get a HomePod for themselves. What exactly are the details?
Well, in typical Apple fashion, you'll be able to pre-order it and then get it later. Pre-orders start tonight at midnight Pacific time, so you'll be able to log on to Apple's store online, place your pre-order. You'll actually get it February 9th, so you have to wait a couple weeks. A lot of people have argued that Apple has maybe waited just a little too long, or at least long enough to kind of complicate the release of the device. Competitors, I mean, we're talking about them all the time, Google Home, the Amazon Echo. They have a very strong hold on this home assistant market right now, but this is kind of typical for Apple. Is Apple late to the game, or are they playing their usual card where they come in after everybody's already kind of got a foothold and they show you what you didn't do all along, what you did wrong? I think that's kind of debatable whether you're in the Apple ecosystem already or if you're not. If you have an iPhone, an iPad, an Apple Watch, a Mac, AirPods, everything, you're probably going to buy this. You're not going to get an Echo unless you already have an Echo. I think researchers have found a lot of people who buy Amazon Echo products are actually iPhone users. The problem, I think, with the HomePod versus some of the other products Apple has released is it doesn't have as many capabilities as the other products that we have on the market. Mm-hmm. So when Apple came out with the iPhone, it was, this huge dramatic change. People hadn't been able to touch the screens of their phones before. It was a music player, a phone, all of these things in one system. The HomePod, Apple's really positioning it first as a good speaker, and they're kind of almost downplaying the actual smart capabilities. So unlike the Echo, where you have all of these different skills it can learn, the HomePod's going to be more limited right away.
Yeah, I'm exactly the person you describe. Apple Watch, Mac, iPhone, iPad, and also what you didn't mention, Apple Music, which is the big thing. Like I pay $14.99 every month for my whole family. They refuse to switch over to Amazon or Google Play Music or Spotify because they have all their playlists in there. And I have Echoes in every single room. But so I don't know if it's enough for me to get one, especially with the price. Can you talk a little bit about the price? It's $345. Where does that fall in the market? What do you think of that?
$349. I mean, that's triple the price, more than triple the price of an Echo. The new second generation Echo's $100. At the holidays, if you were looking for an Echo Dot or one of Google's smart assistant speakers, you could get those for $29. So, $349 is asking a lot for this. Sonos actually just came out with a deal where you can buy 2 of their speakers, their smart speakers that work with us, for the price of one HomePod. And, in terms of good speakers, I think it's hard to argue that Sonos doesn't make very good speakers. So if you're looking for it just for the audio capability, there's alternatives. If you're looking for the smart speaker capabilities, there's a lot of cheaper options.
Yeah, when I look at the HomePod, it's almost like I'm less inclined to compare it against the Amazon Echo, which was, kind of the trendsetter, the market leader in this space. I'm more inclined to compare it to the Google Home Max, which is like, yes, it's a personal assistant, but it's really designed for someone who likes music. It's almost like that's almost its primary function. And hey, it happens to have Siri in there, kind of, walking around asking you what you want to do as well. I mean, would you agree about that? Have you been able to check out the Google Home Max at all in comparison?
I haven't used the Google Home Max. I did get to see the HomePod in
June when Apple announced it at WWDC, but that was kind of a controlled demo, so you could hear it next to a couple other rivals. And, it sounded great, but I think we'll have to wait to see until CNET's reviewers and other reviewers actually get these and can play with these and test these, put these through all of the things that you're going to want to do with it. Yeah. Apple's roots are a lot in music. There was the iPod. They've really tried to do a lot with Apple Music. But if you're a Spotify user, the HomePod may not be something that you want. You can't ask Siri to play your playlist on Spotify. You can play your music from Apple Music, but any of those other music services, you're going to have to connect with Bluetooth. So at that point, it becomes less of a smart speaker, and it's just, a speaker again.
Right.
So, it really just depends, for you, like what services you're using, what other devices you have, and if you're willing to spend that much money.
What about HomeKit compatibility? I know a lot of the Internet of Things home devices are not HomeKit compatible. I know that they much more quickly get compatible with Amazon and other kind of services. Do you think that'll change the market? Do you think the HomePod is going to function as a HomeKit hub? And do you think more devices will then become compatible with HomeKit?
Yeah, one of the features of HomePod is that you can control your smart home devices. It's kind of interesting, like CES several years ago, if you walked around, you saw all of these devices that synced with Apple products. So there were like speakers, iPhone cases, tons of different Apple products, even though Apple wasn't actually at the show. This year, it really seemed like the Amazon show. There were so many different devices, so many different home products that work with us. So you can just call on us to turn off your lights or whatever it is you want to do. Apple is behind when it comes to the smart home. They've been pushing HomeKit for a while, but we just haven't seen as many devices. It's kind of been a little slower to roll out. We'll have to see. CNET has a huge team in Kentucky that specifically looks just at smart home products. So they'll be all over this, seeing how it works to control your lights or, lock your doors or whatever it is you want to try to do with it. But that is one of the things that you'll be able to do with HomePod. We'll just have to see how well it actually works.
Yeah, how well that translates, because I will admit, when we first started hearing about HomeKit, like I feel like in the world of the connected home and IoT devices, that feels like eternity ago. And when we heard about HomeKit, I was like, well, there we go. Apple did it again. You know what I mean? They got in on something that is right on the cusp of being a big deal, and they're going to win at this. But it really seems like that actually hasn't happened. And I mean, part of the reason is because there wasn't this kind of this Trojan horse to get in there and have control in the way that the other devices have done. That's one big way that they've been able to succeed as well as they have, and actually to lift the entire IoT market up as a result. Suddenly people have an easy way to control all their devices.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of funny, like people say that if Amazon had actually succeeded when it tried to make a smartphone, it may not have this position that it has right now in the smart home. But instead, we see so many different products. Even Samsung, it has its own voice assistant. It's also doing things with Hello. You almost can't ignore it if you're in smart home right now. And Amazon just keeps trying to make Hello smarter and smarter. Yeah. That's what Apple really is going to have to do with Siri, is make it able to do everything we want to do with it. And, if you need Siri to work, if you're telling it to lock your front door or to turn on your lights.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of my questions that I have for you, is that, Siri has been improved over, very recently. And so I imagine that gets folded into the HomePod product that we get. But I mean, this puts Siri front and center. Do you think that Siri is going to enable the HomePod to thrive based on what you've seen as far as improvements in Siri at this point? Or, I mean, do we have another Apple Hi-Fi on our hands potentially?
I think we're going to have to see. I think that HomePod probably will succeed, even if everybody turns off Siri and just uses it as a very nice speaker.
Fair enough.
if you look at AirPods, those are incredibly popular. I know a lot of people who have them and deactivate Siri. There's an option to turn that off. So when you tap it, instead, it goes forward to the next song instead of having to call on Siri. So, Apple is constantly trying to improve Siri. They're, they keep rolling out improvements. There's no way they're going to stop doing that. It just, we'll have to see if it can kind of catch up with what we're seeing with Scala and the Google Assistant and some of these smart assistants that researchers say are ahead of Siri at this point.
Right. So final question, are you going to be getting one of these? Is this checking any boxes for you?
I think I'm going to wait and see, actually. I'm kind of I listen to music all the time, but I'm often listening to it on headphones. I'm not, and for me, a smart speaker, I'm still a little hesitant about those. One of the things Apple really does have going for it is its privacy. It doesn't sell your data, it sells you devices, which is different from what we see from the other smart speaker guys. So that, that's a potential benefit with them, but I'm not sure if I'll be pre-ordering tonight.
Gotcha. All right, Shara Tipken from CNET. Really appreciate you taking time to join us and share your thoughts on the HomePod. Where can people follow all of your work online?
I'm on CNET.com.
Awesome. That's easy enough. All right, Shara, thank you again. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right, take care.